Hello and welcome to Advertisers Watching Ads. My name is Tom Ollerton. I'm the founder of Automated Creative, and this is a weekly show where brands watch other brands' ads and discuss what's good and bad about them. We are brought to you with our partner this week, Contagious, so please go and check those guys out after the show. But first off, let's meet this week's guests.
Hi everyone, I'm Nikki Vadera. I'm the marketing director for laundry and home care for Henkel.
And I'm Courtney Delude. I lead strategy for headphones at Bose.
It's worth mentioning that it's 7 a.m. where Courtney is, so massive props for showing up super early on the show. But let's get to this week's ad.
Champagne can only come from one place, Champagne, France. So why is the Champagne of beers any different? Introducing Champagne of Beers, Wisconsin, America's newest beer region.
With your help, only beers invented here, inside these very specific borders around the Miller Brewery, will be considered a Champagne of beers. Over here, it's just a beer.
Kevin, this is incredible.
Thank you. And look, it's you.
Nice. Because a beer this bubbly and crisp couldn't have come from anywhere else, and we'd like to keep it that way. Show your support by signing our petition. And while you're at it, why not take a shot at becoming our region's first ambassador? Keep in mind, in these parts, we pay our ambassadors in the good stuff. That's a year's supply of the Champagne of beers. So come on down to the Champagne of Beers region.
Who needs France?
So Courtney, what was your consumer response to that ad before you started thinking about it as a marketer?
It's pretty clever and cutesy.
I actually found the ad quite cringy. I don't know if it's because I'm not a beer drinker and therefore it's probably not appealing to me as a consumer, but I mean this in the nicest possible way. It felt very American, which I know it's meant to feel because that's the whole premise of the ad. But as a consumer, the humor for me went a little bit on the cringe scale.
Is this an awareness piece? Do they actually want to get people to sign a petition, or is this just a glorified competition to win some free beer?
I'm not sure what they want. Is it just to say, hi guys, this is our beer. Our beer is amazing. We really take pride in what we do. Or is it, you know, we're tongue in cheek and we're the cool brand that you want to drink, and we're trying to do things differently. And it's interesting at the end when they say, I think something about, you know, forget France. I don't know, France is so famous for champagne and that Champagne region. It was like almost blasphemy to say forget about France and the Champagne region.
And it's funny that you said they're trying to be the cool brand, because actually, you know, I don't think it's cool. Because that ad to me could have happened in 1990 or 2000, like the early 2000s, and be the same ad. And this has been their gig for like a long time. And so, yeah, that's good from like, you know, building resonance and like hitting home the same message over and over. But to me, it actually lacks relevancy. And I wonder how they're doing, because right now, at least in the States, like craft beers and these startup beers and also like hard seltzers have had like a ton of relevancy. To me, it actually feels stale. It's like you've been telling the same joke for like 15 years. I don't know if that's like works anymore. I wonder if they like need.
Yeah, and that's where I was going with this kind of cringiness. It felt a bit like try hard. I can kind of almost work back and figure the brief out. I totally understand what they're trying to do. And I think they've nailed what they wanted to do. I just don't know if it's very now and how much that would resonate with the consumer today.
It's like, I wonder how, like going back to that relevancy, like I agree with you, Nikki. I think that they did nail the brief, I can imagine, but it's like, was it the right brief? You know?
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they're not playing an underdog and they're not pointing to, oh, them, don't worry about them. They are just owning who they are. So there is an element that's nice about that. It's like, you know, maybe an underlying current is like, don't worry about those other guys, right? Because we're just going to focus on our target audience and we're going to win with the consumer that we know.
Yeah, but I wonder if that's alienating possible new consumers or even their current target audience who maybe would consider a different sort of repertoire of alcoholic beverages. I don't know. The way I'm viewing this is that this is my audience, this is who I want to capture, and I've been really single-minded in doing that. And I think we've done that well, but I do wonder if there is it I don't know, almost an ignorance that they're just ignoring everything else that's going on? Or is it almost a confidence that they're choosing to do that? That's what the bit that I'm toying with.
It's not like, I mean, a beer is a beer, right? And like, I drink plenty of beers, right? But I would never watch that ad and be like, that beer is for me, right? I would actually be like, to Nikki's point as a consumer, I would be like, oh, like that's clearly not cool and not what I want to be about. So like, I'm going to stay away from that one in the bar, right? And that's where I almost want them to like get over that act and like try something a little bit different. And like, how can they have a different brief where they stay with their personality, stay who they are, but become a little bit more relevant and expand that story more.
You know, you've got 30 seconds to get your message across, and 5 to 7 seconds was explaining the Champagne region of France. A lot of people know that and understand that, but people who don't, you're having to almost give them too many messages in a 30-second time frame.
I do wonder like where this ad would be placed, because it doesn't feel very engagement worthy, just like shareable, like with your friends and buddies because of that relevancy piece. Then I wonder if you do cut it down to a 15 or 30 second and do a paid advertising on TV or on digital, it's like, what's that story going to be? And how can you get that across cohesively in 30 seconds? I'm not quite sure.
What would you have been saying to the creative agency to improve this ad?
There's probably 2 things I would have done differently. I would have used a group of friends so it's more representative. And if it was going down this kind of route of telling the story of champagne being the champagne of beers, probably making it feel more current. So did they have, doing it in a different setting, for example? Could it be something that's a more realistic setting than a guy that sort of stood outside the beer factory showing how this beer is made? I just think it's losing its authenticity in how they've done it.
I really like the fact that they're staying with their equity of this champagne of beers tagline. With champagne, you can do so many things. Like you can have someone relaxing in a pool or like living a really extravagant life, right? I think there's different ways in where you get the same message that could make it feel a little fresher and new than what they ended up with.
There's kind of no call to actions, no hashtag, no shareability. Kind of what's the next step you want the consumer to do? And as I see it, it's still it would be an awareness driving campaign, because there's no action for the consumer to take. They tell you to try and sign up as a brand ambassador or enter this competition, but give me some sort of hashtag that we can then start making this trend and get people, who's the next ambassador, or have hashtag champagne of beers. I'm just missing the modernity in terms of the so what's the next step for the consumer?
If you're a brand watching this advert and listening to this conversation, what should they be doing next that they may have not done before?
I think for me, and this is something that I've learned in many briefs, is you can check all the boxes, but miss the mark. And I could imagine that the brand team was like, yep, promise delivered, clear branding delivered, RTBs delivered, right? But then it's like, there's this like je ne sais quoi, right, about advertising, which is why we all love this industry, that it just lacks relevancy and freshness. And there's some like emotional tie to culture that it's just missing for me.
How about
a really nice way of putting it, Courtney. And I would echo a lot of what you said, but I think on top of that, for me, it's respecting your heritage as a brand, but moving your brand forward to be in line with the times. And that's what you need to learn. There's a lot of brands with rich heritage, but there's also a lot of startup brands that have come in with no heritage who've also been just as successful. So you can't hang on to what you've always done. Sometimes it is time to shake things up and shift the dial and do things differently. And you can do that without losing what you built in terms of equity over the years.
And to finish the show, can we just get a vote, a marks out of 5 on the count of 3? Hold up your hands. 1, 2, 3. A 2 and a 2. Well, what did you think? Whether you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube or Twitter, please put your comments below and we can all have a discussion there about what you thought about this ad. But Nikki, Courtney, thank you so much.